Question. I wonder what your take is on the matter. Do we tend to overdo things like with everything on this We Can Do It Wednesday? Let's talk about this. Back in a minute. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hey, this is Jan. I am from New York. I love to help people save money and more on my channel, which is the Save Money and More with Jan channel. How you doing today? Hope everybody's doing well on this We Can Do It Wednesday. It occurred to me this morning when I was having my breakfast. When you get to that point in your active stockpile, like the stuff that you work with, the stuff that you have on hand, stuff in your refrigerator, in your active stockpile, stuff in your, cupboards and whatever in your kitchen. And you start thinking, time to do maybe a little pantry shopping or whatever. But you're noticing supplies are low. Then a light bulb went off in my head. I said, well, I could eat this for breakfast or that for breakfast or cut back down on this. Do I have to have two of that? And I said to myself, what are some ways that I can slow down my use and slow down eventually my spending because I got used to slowing down my use? It hit me this morning. I mean, I always knew it, but it really hit me this morning. I think that we have been raised in situations, many of us, not all, many of us have been raised like even through like influential let's say, ads all over the place. At one time, about 20 years ago, people were introduced to like these guzzling, humongous types of drinks that I ask myself, like when you go on the road and buy those like all those million-ounce type drinks, I'm like, wow, what person can like sit through that whole drink? But then again, I realized, well, maybe the person's holding it for hours and hours. So I'm sure there are reasons for it. Hang on a second. Excuse me. Um, Allergy time. Here we go again. Pre-spring allergy time. Yeah, so excuse me. And I'm thinking to myself, there maybe in certain situations there are literally needs to have like a humongous gazillion ounce type of drink. That's just an example. I believe many of us have been trained to have things in so much excessivity that A, it's not really good for us. B, it's definitely not good for our wallet. I mean, and I'm going to focus on the wallet part. The rest of it, you figure out and see what you think about that. But as far as the wallet goes, when did this happen? Because I could look back growing up in the 70s, excuse me again, as a teenager, for example, things were a fraction of the size, even down to the muffins. I'm telling you, if I went to, let's say I didn't make my own muffin, all right? And I went to a local deli back in the 1970s before school to pick up let's say a toasted corn muffin. Can I tell you something? Those muffins were a fraction of the size of the muffins today. I'm not even kidding you. The sizes of the muffins you get outside today, for example, literally I could feed a couple of people with. Definitely I could cut it in half and share it. I could even cut it into 4 segments if I really wanted to in quarters. Have 1 or 2 on day 1, have the rest of it on day 2. You see where I'm going with this. That is just an example with the excessive sugary drinks. Also, we got used to things in ginormous packages with big box type stores. Okay. So we've been so used to by now mentally looking at larger sizes of all of these consumable products. Okay. And I ask myself, is it really a deal in a way? Maybe in so much as you may need less trips. But is it really a deal in the wallet? Maybe if you really use the product. Everything's a variable. But one thing is for sure, all of us as a whole, probably, this is a good guess. out of habit, got used to eating humongous sized portions of things. Even people sitting down to a bowl of salad. Well, you say to yourself, well, this is salad. This is good for you. Yeah, but I mean, what I see sometimes in front of people back in the 70s and in the 60s, a family of 4 could have eaten off of because I'm not kidding, because we are mentally trained to have certain things in smaller sizes, for example. And some of the stuff, unfortunately, today shrunk. I'll give you an example of that. Back in the 60s and 70s, if a person bought a container of yogurt, containers were much bigger than as opposed to these little itsy bitsy sizes. If people back in the day saw the size of the little yogurts that we've gotten accustomed to today, they'd probably laugh. So it's a flip flop flop flip. But what's this have to do with the price of fish? I know I don't eat fish too often. It has a lot to do with it. So getting back to this very morning, I said, well, supplies are starting to run low, and I do like slowing down my spending. So I slow down my overuse of things, for example. Okay. And I was thinking of you're always better off with multiple use products, like when it comes to eating. Some people, for example, are perfectly happy having a couple of graham crackers, a little bit of butter. Some people put on that, and that's their breakfast for the day. Whereas some people, they're like, oh my gosh, I have to have, like 2 or 3 pieces of, toast and a couple of eggs all the time. Whatever. No judgment, no nothing. But if we could slow down the use. Now, a box of graham crackers, for example, if you get the store brand, if a person enjoys that and they are filled up with that, I think that's a good deal. That's a good training wheels. Have a couple of those with a cup of coffee. If you're still not quite feeling the love, meaning like you're not satisfied with that, make yourself some sort of a fried egg on the side and you're done. To me, I like to reserve fancy breakfast for the weekend. It all depends, of course. Everybody's weekend occurs at a different time. I mean, let's say I call my weekend Saturday and Sunday. Somebody else's weekend may be Monday and Tuesday. But for me, I like to reserve a special breakfast. What do I mean by that? That's exactly what I mean, like a bigger breakfast. I no longer have, well, I never really did that anyway. Some people eat heavily every morning. I really can't. To me, I consider a heavy breakfast like an egg with a muffin from Monday through Friday. But for the weekend, let's say I want a little bit of some sort of meat or bacon or something with my eggs and toast or pancakes or French toast, whatever. To me, I consider that a special, breakfast. But here's the thing on this We Can Do It Wednesday. Look around you. Ask yourself, do we do things, not just eating, do we do things in excessivity? And is it really a good idea? Sometimes less is more. Only thing is, you can only answer that. Look around you. Ask yourself, are there ways you can cut back without really cutting back, but really just maybe getting closer to what people used to consider average? Have an amazing, fantastic day.